Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you for joining us here on All Patriots Talk. I'm Mike Debate alongside Ethan Hurwitz. We represent New England Patriots on SI, the Sports Illustrated outlet for your New England Patriots. We're also your co-hosts here on All Patriots Talk, powered by All NFL Talk. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button both on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts to make sure that you're getting the latest episode as soon as it's available. Folks, it's been an exciting week for Patriots Nation. The Patriots essentially earning two victories in the same week. First over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 10, and then a Thursday Night Football victory over the Jets in Week 11. Patriots now coming into Week 12, 9-2, and they're facing a showdown with the Cincinnati Bengals, which all of a sudden, this matchup got a whole lot more interesting in the past few days. We're going to preview that game for you, including what looks like the impending return of quarterback Joe Burrow to the Bengals starting lineup. We're going to do all that, so stick around. You do not want to miss it. But first, let's start with the real news of the day for your New England Patriots. And Ethan, the Pats find themselves in, what shall we say, familiar territory. It's nothing new for the Pats franchise, but for the past couple of years, it is new. The Patriots are atop the AFC East. They are 2 games up on the Buffalo Bills, in the driver's seat right now to take home the division crown for the first time since 2019. Of course, thanks in part to our good friends in Buffalo dropping a Thursday Night Football contest to the Houston Texans, 23-19. Ethan, my question to you is this. The division appears to be right there for the taking. And you wrote about this earlier today for Sports Illustrated. In your estimation, are they simply going to go out there now and just take it?
Yeah. I think it's all but over. And I said that, and it might be a little premature. And I also said that it might be a little bit premature, but it's just, there's no, and I'm sure this will come back to bite me and I'll have to put my foot in my mouth, but there's no way the Patriots lose this division. It's right there for the taking. They already have the tiebreaker over Buffalo going into what will be their next game. They win the next 2 games. And I think week 15 is going to be a hat and t-shirt game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, all you need to do is take care of business against 2 teams that you really can beat easily, and that's Cincy and the New York Giants on Monday Night Football next week. I don't see a way, unless a catastrophic injury befalls this team on both sides of the ball, that this team loses the division. I really don't.
Yeah, injuries are always a great equalizer, and I share your sentiment. I am right there with you. I don't think there's a way right now where the New England Patriots find a way to lose this other than, like you said, either health reasons or just an implosion that no one sees coming. And I don't see that happening with the way that Mike Vrabel is coaching this team and with the way Drake May is playing and with the way everyone else is playing around. I know the Patriots are going to face some defensive difficulties, and we're going to get into those in just a little bit because those may come into play this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. But you look at the rest of the schedule now, and I think it's human nature. You just start picking off games and you say, okay, well, starting in week 12 with the Bengals, most Patriots fans, I think, felt confident coming into this game because of the struggles the Bengals have had. Maybe Burrow's return might throw a little wrench into those plans for some, maybe not for others. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get to the Bengals in a minute. But that game is probably more penciled in for the Patriots to be able to take care of business than not. The Giants, I think a lot of people are looking at that one as, yes, it's going to be at home. It's a Monday night game, prime time. Drake May rises to the occasion. Mike Vrabel has his troops ready. Patriots go into the bye week with a win over the Giants. Coming out of that bye week, a couple of tough matchups potentially. You know the Bills aren't just going to go quietly into that good night. They're going to want to prove to everyone that they still have something left in the tank. So they're going to be pumped up. They're going to be ready to play that game. Baltimore Ravens, now obviously with Lamar Jackson back in the lineup, they're going to be ready. They're going to be primed, and they want to show the world that they're still a factor here in the AFC. And then you got the Jets and the Dolphins right now. They're kind of languishing and just kind of playing out the string. I know Miami's had some minor successes lately, and they got that Lloyd Christmas, so you're telling me there's a chance thing going on. But let's be realistic here, folks. Those 2 teams are probably on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoff race. So when you look at that type of schedule coming up for the Pats, you see all the stars aligned, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. Whether you're looking at the one-on-one matchups or you're looking at the games they can win or the games they can't win or the games they may have difficulty with. I shouldn't say can't win because I don't think there were any can't wins left on the Patriots schedule. they hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
They right now hold that second game over the Bills, and that is going to be so huge coming down the stretch. So a big thanks to the Houston Texans if you're a Patriots fan. I know you were happy to see that. But that being said, we're ready to move on now if you're a New England Patriots fan into Week 12, and that is this week's matchup coming up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The first thing I saw when I was looking at this matchup, Ethan, a few days ago was Bengals are going to be without Trey Hendrickson. They're going to be without Jamar Chase for a really bonehead reason. I still don't understand what Jamar is thinking there. You've got to show restraint. I know sometimes it's tough. I'm not judging either side, but that type of conduct can't be condoned. He's out. And based on what Zach Taylor had to say, it didn't look like Joe Burrow was going to get the start. So the Patriots are looking at probably three of the most high-profile, if not the three most high-profile players on the Bengals roster that are going to be sitting on the bench. All of a sudden, practice starts rolling around, and Joe Burrow's out there. And not only is he out there practicing, he's taking part in his full reps. And you and I both know from a couple of weeks ago with the mess that the Baltimore Ravens had to go through, you have to list that very, very carefully. He can't put down that he's a full participant if he's only taking part in some reps. That means he's getting every starting rep. That's the way he usually practices. I don't see a situation here where Joe does not start this game on Sunday. And if you asked me that 3 days ago, I would have never, ever uttered those words. When you look at Joe Burrow now coming back, hasn't played since week 2 with the turf toe, sounded like the Bengals were taking a prudent course of action, but maybe they see their season slipping away and they figure this is our last gasp effort. We've got to throw him out there. Does this change your opinion on the Patriots' approach or the Patriots' prospects for taking this one home?
I don't think it really changes my opinion. I think the Patriots will still win this game. It's just it's confusing to me that Cincinnati would do this considering they're playing on Thanksgiving and they have another game really quick. And so why not just give him an extra few days to rest up and then you have a divisional game against Baltimore? Mm-hmm. That seems like a much more important game that Cincy should focus on for the health of Joe Burrow than New England. And yes, I think their season is probably fading away and they might feel that. And Joe Flacco's played fine football. Mm-hmm. He's kept them somewhat afloat, but sooner or later you're going to have to put Burrow in there. And it seemed like it was going to be next week that he makes his return. And for all we know, it's just he's getting those full team reps. They're going through the motions with him as the starting quarterback, and they still just give him the day off. But it's trending like he's going to play, which it feels weird to me because, you know, there's no Chase out there. You're without your top tier receiver. It's weird. It's weird to me that they would do that against a team that really, as of right now, with Burrow on the field or not, I don't think he can compete with them anyway.
Very good point. And again, Ethan is the voice of reason here. I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself. At the time we're recording this, no final decision has been made on Joe Burrow making the start or not making the start. It could be posturing on Zach Taylor's part, but if in fact he does go, let's assume that this is going to be the case and he is going to be in the lineup. New England's defensive front now faces, I believe, a stronger task, even with a healthy Joe Flacco as opposed to a compromised health-wise Joe Burrow. Joe's ability to not only navigate the pocket, but also be able to go off script and do things to make his team better in every circumstance is just at a higher level than what Joe Flacco is going to give you. Joe is still playing at a high level. At 40 years old, he's still doing things on a football field that a lot of younger quarterbacks and quarterbacks in different situations would love to be able to do, but there is also that age factor. And let's face it, he's only led the Bengals to a 1-4 record since he's been there. Not all of that has been his fault, but those are the numbers, and that's the record that the Bengals are coming in with Joe Flacco as their starter. But the thing that worries me is the lack of Milton Williams in this lineup now. Milton has been so integral in the Patriots being able to have a defense that gets unlocked, gets upfield, makes more plays behind the line of scrimmage. We've seen him pair with Christian Barmore, and they're making a tremendous tandem. Not having Williams in the lineup puts more pressure on Barmore. It's going to I think, put more pressure on guys like Harold Landry and Caleb Von Chason to not always count on the double team, but they're going to have to get after the quarterback maybe with a little bit more fervor than they've been showing the last couple of weeks. And it puts pressure on guys like Corey Durden, who's going to be asked to step up and play a bigger role. Jordan Farmer, if he comes back from injury, is going to be asked to play a bigger role in this lineup. So in that regard, when you look at the pressure that this places on the defense, do you think the Patriots may adjust the way that they choose to defend the Bengals, or do you just say, you know what, next man up, we're going to go with what we got and what's been working so far?
I think because you have Christian Barmore and he's a just as capable defensive tackle as Milton Williams, I think that you don't really need to adjust the way that you change your role. I think it's a lot of the times Barmore sometimes isn't even on the field. There are some downs on first and second downs where it's just one of them out there, and then third down they'll let them both loose. And I think you get Barmore as more of the every down defensive tackle now. He's going to be playing most of the game, and then you're going to have to rotate a bunch of guys in at that second defensive tackle spot. I don't think it's just going to be a Farmer and Barmore type day. It's going to be Durden. It's going to be probably a lot more Tonga on the defensive line, which means you'll probably get pulled back from offense a little bit. You might not see him in the backfield as fullback. So I think it's just going to be a heavier dose of Barmore, probably just swallowing up what you used to see with Vince Wilfork. Is it might not be have our defensive tackle get after the quarterback. It might just be have our defensive tackle just swallow up as much space as possible so that we can then have everyone else, whether it's an edge rusher off the line, or maybe you just send more linebacker blitzes with Spillane and Tavai. And just the way that you're going to sort of run your defense now is just sort of, you want this clog in the middle. And that's what Wilfork was. And I think that's what Barmore's really good at that, but he's also really good at getting after the passer. But I think for this game specifically, he's going to need to, they might just restrain that a little bit and be a big ball of mass in the middle of the defensive line, and then hope that the edge rushers can get home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is an embarrassment of riches when a guy like Milton Williams goes down and you have Christian Barmore and someone who is as capable of stepping into any role along that defensive front and being able to keep that unit going at a high level. And I expect that Christian will rise to the occasion. And I'm glad you mentioned Kyrios Tonga, because he has been one of your best defensive players. He's really been a three-way player for this team, if you want to think about it. Although I think that CJ Dupree coming into the lineup now at tight end and maybe taking on some of those blocking duties, maybe an indication to Mike Vrabel that he's not so willing to put Kyrios Tonga in the offensive circumstances that he's put him in. You don't want him going down. You don't want him getting hurt. So the more he's on the bench and the more he's able to get rest, you want to save him for what you really need him for, and that is defense along that defensive line. My next question for you with regard to Joe Burrow in this matchup is that a return of this type is not just going to affect the defensive front and how the Patriots attack the quarterback. This is going to have repercussions on the secondary as well, because New England's secondary right now looked at this matchup coming in and saying, okay, well, we're not going to have to deal with Jamar Chase, but there's still a number of weapons that can hurt you on this team. Still got T. Higgins. You still got Andre Josevich. Before I found out that Burrow was coming back, my thought process was that, just throw Christian Gonzalez on T. Higgins. One cancels out the other. If Josevich beats you, he's going to have to beat you. But the more I'm looking at it now, and if Burrow does indeed decide to come back and the Bengals do put him out there, maybe take Andre Josevich, and he is the one that draws the coverage with Christian Gonzalez. And maybe you throw the double team toward T. Higgins. And, of course, Marcus Jones in the slot. He'll probably end up going up against Charlie Jones or Jermaine Burton if he's matched up in the slot. Do you think there's any chance that the Patriots tinker with this a little bit, or do you just throw Gonzo at the best weapon they've got?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. I think that it's something where Zach Core was talking about how they were planning for both quarterbacks. So I think there was probably a plan in place for if Flacco plays as opposed to if Burrow plays. And that might change how they want to, throw their defensive backs at each receiver. But I like the idea of having the one-on-one with Gonzo. And I think having that sort of Bill Belichick type scheme could work. And that would obviously have changed if Jamar Chase is in there, and that would probably have been the Gonzalez Chase one-on-one matchup that everyone wanted to see. That was one of the highly touted, one of the top corners, one of the top receivers. Now that he's not there, I like the idea of sort of switching it up and not having your best corner on their best receiver, because then a defense that is pretty versatile, you get, some safeties out there that can probably cover some more space and have some guys drop back into coverage. I like the idea. I think you're onto something.
Ethan, we've talked about this sort of from a defensive standpoint because of the Joe Burrow factor, but I want to preview this game in earnest because there is still a lot to go through, especially when it comes to the Patriots and finding what I believe will be multiple opportunities for success against a Cincinnati defense that has not been good this year. They rank dead last against the run. They're coming in at, I believe, 30th or 31st in overall defense. Obviously, Drake May, Josh McDaniels, most importantly, but Drake May, the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends are coming in looking for opportunities to exploit this Bengals defense. Do you go ahead and do you attack this team on the run because they're so deficient against defending it, even with Ramondre Stevenson maybe not being 100%, or even Terrell Jennings, which I think is worth a message that this guy is playing through a knee injury right now and is giving you everything he can. He's playing his heart out and putting all that load potentially on Travion Henderson? Or do you try to switch things up a little bit and try to attack this team through the air and see if you can give the runners a chance to catch their breath and then really hurt this team in the second half?
I like airing it out. I like throwing
too.
the ball 40 times, 45 times. Ideally, you get Kayshon Boutte back, which will really open up the top half of that field. I think the running backs for Ramondre Stevenson won't be 100%. Henderson is going to be your workhorse probably for this game, and you touched on it. Jennings is dealing with that injury, and Dearness Johnson is out of elevation. So those are your three running backs. Unless you elevate Rushawn Baker or someone else off the practice squad that I don't really see contributing at all.
Right.
I think throwing the ball is going to be their best course of action, so they don't run into a scenario where they've now put all their running backs into the ground and now they've exercised all their ways to get the ball in the running backs' hands. I think with Kayshon Boutte back, Mario Douglas has been very good in deep ball mesh concepts. Obviously, Stephon Diggs has been your best receiver, but I think with Boutte back, it really takes the top off the defense. I like throwing the ball a lot. I think Cincy's defense has been really bad against really good passing offenses, and they've gotten into a number of shootouts, and I think that game against Chicago is really emblematic of the fact that they can't really cover. And when they can cover, they can't really tackle. So I like getting the ball in space. I like airing it out. Boutte down the sideline, Diggs and Douglas down the middle, and Hollins in the seam. I really like throwing the ball 45 times. I think that should be your point of attack.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you look at what this team is good at as opposed to what they're not. And I'm speaking about the Bengals here. And you look at the deficiencies in the running game and you automatically think, oh, yeah, there's an opportunity to just run the ball right over. But I think a lot of us are forgetting that the running backs are going to be so needed as the weather's getting colder and you get down into playoff football. Running the ball is so important to be able to succeed in those games. And the way the Patriots are playing, they're going to have a home game or two here in Gillette to host in the playoffs, hopefully, if things continue to shake out in the right direction. So you need to make sure that those runners are fresh. And with Ramondre Stevenson now coming back from what we believe to be turf toe, and that can be painful. We saw Joe Burrow sidelined for it for a good number of weeks here. So New England is smart to conserve the health of that running back core. And this is a team that can air it out, and they can have success against this Bengals secondary. Cam Taylor-Britt is their top cornerback, and he's banged up right now as well. So if the Patriots can exploit that aerial attack and use it to their advantage, it's only going to make things a lot easier for them to be able to put points up on the board. Ethan, before we get into game predictions and what you think is going to happen here, I always like to play X Factor. And I always like to think about players that may be under the radar right now that maybe some of us are watching, but not everybody's watching. In your estimation, it could be on offense, could be on defense, could even be a special teamer. Who do you think comes out of this game as the eyebrow raiser, where people may not have thought a lot going in, but now they're looking at them coming out of this one?
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with an answer that's kind of evergreen, but in a way, the way that I'm gonna argue it is not. I'm gonna say Drake May,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna go with Drake May solely because if you go against Joe Burrow is the type of quarterback that the Patriots want Drake May to be, top of his class in the AFC, and this is the game that you need to win. These are the games where the Patriots now have been gifted another opportunity by another team where the division is there for the taking. And I think
Mhm.
Drake May, throughout his career, is going to need to win these games against a team that is supposed to be good, but has not been good. And you're just going to need to go into a semi hostile environment and win the game. So I think if Drake May can put up 27 points, it should do the job. But I think Drake May should be a player. What can he do with somewhat limited running backs? Can he throw the ball against a team that you really should be able to throw the ball against? So I know it's kind of a cheap cop out answer, but I think Drake May, if Drake May performs the way he's been doing the last few weeks, the Patriots should win the game.
I don't think that's a cheap cop out answer at all. I think the way you've explained it is very good. And I agree with you. I absolutely believe that this New England Patriots team lives or dies by what Drake is going to do. And these are games, again, that he should win. These are games, again, that he should be leading his team to victory. And I think it's another step forward in his maturity process. And look, there's a lot to distract a young quarterback, especially with the way he's been playing right now and the attention he's been getting media wise. Let's not go there in terms of ESPN morning shows. We don't need to worry about that. Drake's not worried about that. But this is a kid who's top 5 statistically in just about every meaningful quarterback statistical column. And he's worried about one stat. He's worried about wins. He wants to make sure that his team has more wins than the other so that way he can move this team forward. That's not lip service, folks. Ethan and I have been around Drake May. We've seen the way the team reacts to him, and that's real. It's very much a part of who he is. So to say that he is an X factor, no, I think is absolutely right on the money. And I'm going to stay on the offensive side of the ball, believe it or not, because I think the X factor does reside in the offense this week. And I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. And I think Stephon could be a guy that could end up changing the complexity of this game. And like you said, the New England Patriots might be smart to air it out. And if they do, I do believe that Stephon could have a big role in this. If you look at the way these two teams match up, you're probably looking at Stephon drawing a one-on-one matchup against Bengals cornerback DJ Turner. DJ has had a pretty good season for the Bengals right now, doing his due diligence against the number one receiver. But if Stephon can use some of that expertise, some of that veteran savvy that we've seen him use the past couple of games to be able to maneuver into getting yardage when the Patriots need it the most, I think it's going to translate into success, not just on the field in terms of gaining yardage, but I think you may see him in the end zone a little more than we've seen him the last few games. He's got 3 touchdowns coming in. I know he's not, locked into those types of numbers or anything like that. It's a new, improved Stephon Diggs when it comes to his work ethic and his abilities to move forward. But if he does see Turner, I think it's going to motivate him a little bit to show I can get the job done on a guy that they're throwing at their top option right now with Britt on the sideline. So if Diggs is able to find his rhythm in this Patriots offense, yeah, I think the Pats may be off to the races when it comes to scoring. And we'll see what that means on the field for these New England Patriots. Ethan, it's prediction time. The New England Patriots, Cincinnati Bengals, 1 p.m. Eastern, Paycor Stadium in the Queen City. How do you see this one all shaken out? Who wins and why?
I think the Pats win 27-20. I think it'll be sort of like the Jets game on Thursday night where you're dominating throughout the game, but I don't think the scoreboard is going to represent that. I think since he hangs around, they still have talent that people thought would be in the playoffs. So I think that they'll make just enough plays to win the game. It won't be a convincing win, but I think that they come out with a win. They go 10-2, and we go one step closer to the all important game against Buffalo in a few weeks.
Absolutely. I agree with you. As a matter of fact, we're almost extremely like-minded when it comes to final scores. Earlier this week, Christian Arcan at WEI asked me my final prediction. I predicted the 28-20 victory over for the Patriots over the Bengals. So I believe in the same. And I also think that Ethan's right on the money here. I think the Patriots are going to be able to dictate the tempo. I think they're going to control the time of possession. And as long as they do that, to me, they have the better chance to be able to win. They've been playing together all this time. Drake May is playing at the top of his game, and he continues to ascend each and every week. I think the defense rises to the occasion. I think they adjust to whomever they're going to face, whether it's Burrow or whether it's going to be Joe Flacco. And I think they make just enough plays to keep this team at bay. It'll be a tight one for a little while, but I think the Patriots end up pulling this out. Folks, we'd love to hear what you have to say. We want to hear your thoughts, your predictions. What are your thoughts on Joe Burrow coming back? Do you agree with Ethan and I that's a little premature for the Cincinnati Bengals to go running them out there? Or is all fair in love and war, and when your back's against the wall, you got to do what you got to do? Keep it right here on All Patriots Talk. And also, don't forget to bookmark us and keep us in your purview. Keep us in your sharp eye, folks, because after the New England Patriots and the Cincinnati Bengals do business at Paycor Stadium on Week 12, we're going to be back here on the channel, and we're going to be bringing you a live post-game coverage. So keep a sharp eye on our social media accounts, respectively, so that way you'll be sure to be right there in place when Ethan and I go live on Sunday evening after the Pats and the Bengals hook up in this Week 12 matchup. Pats fans, what can we say? We thank you for joining us here today on All Patriots Talk. In the meantime, we thank you for making us a part of your Patriots informational intake this week. He is Ethan Hurwitz. I'm Mike Debate. And we remind you all to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here next time on All Patriots Talk.